a boring lecture with really lame PowerPoint slides, an introduction that says Webster defines innovation as, you're in the wrong place. So it's quite all right if you want to get up and leave. I'm not offended. I appreciate, the slides are kind of fun, so we can spread out and take up the room. Anyone else that wants to come up front, you're more than welcome. So to kick things off, one of the best things about conferences and meeting exciting people is staying connected. So contact information, this will also be up at the end. It's available immediately for you to be able to download from the BBC website. I encourage you to download everything. I know we all start going, I missed all these great sessions and I'm going to download everything and I'm going to read it, and that doesn't happen. But the ones that you're really connected with, grab it, save it, use it, share it. If anyone's live tweeting, my handle is @HansEckman. And the hashtag for the event is BBCCon. Thank you. For those of you who don't know or are new to Twitter, there are two awesome hashtags that you should know. BAOT and PMOT. That is business analysis on Twitter and project management on Twitter. These are global discussions of everything that's happening in those practice areas. There are some universal hashtags for some other domains, but those are two that I encourage you to follow and look at. So before we start, I want to give credit where credit is due. Up here, Mark Pearson, and in the presentation that I'll have on my site are links to their LinkedIn profiles. Mark Pearson was the chief architect for our bank. I had the honor of working for him in enterprise architecture in a product innovation, basically a skunk's work research and development team. But what I'm going to share with you today really was the brainchild of Mark Pearson and David Lee, who came to us from Bank of America, who really found a frustration that I'm going to talk you through about product innovation and wanted to tackle that in a new way. So I wanted to give them full credit that a lot of the concepts came from them. They were instrumental in helping implement, and then we really pulled everything together as a team. So to start off, who can tell me what innovation is? So we've seen a whole track almost with innovation in the title. And did everyone get the exact same idea of what innovation is?
Oh.
All right, using five-finger voting means 5, totally awesome, totally understand, to 1, I have no clue or totally disagree. How many people think that they understand exactly what innovation is? Vote. All right, 2s, 3s, 4, all right. If you Google, pop out your phones, because I know everyone's on anyway, and say, type in Google types of innovation. And even under images, it'll say the 3 types of innovation, the 4 types of innovation, the 10 types of innovation, the 20 types of innovation. There's no consensus. It's a mess. So when we think of innovation, who do we normally think of? Who are the innovators? Apple. Okay, Apple always comes up.
Dyson.
What? Dyson, okay. Tesla, okay. So when we think of innovation, we think of new products a lot of times. So I'm going to dumb this down to the most horrible overgeneralization possible, but it's a good place to start. In essence, I believe there are 2 types of innovation. One is improvement. You have something and you're making it better. You're removing defects, you're enhancing functionality, you're broadening it to a new audience, but in essence, you're expanding what you have. The other is disruptive, where you're creating something that is new or something completely different for that particular area. So why is incremental or process improvement or process innovation important? One, it's a lot easier to do something that's incremental. So it's really good because you can have a higher velocity. You can drive out defects. You can add new functionality. All of our releases. Agile's based on the premise that you start with a baseline and then you keep prioritizing what you're adding and you try it and you try it and you try it and you keep the things that work and you ditch the things that don't. It's a great way of reducing errors. If you've got a process or a product and you like it, make it better. And better is better. Why is it bad? A lot of times you're looking at smaller improvements. So you're not going to get a quantum leap. You're not going to get a big jump. And it also, when you're doing improvements only, you're really talking about a commodity business. So if you've read the Innovator's Dilemma, At the point where you get into just driving down cost, increasing efficiency, what you're doing is you're basically on a race to the bottom. You're just trying to see who can produce something for that market best, fastest, cheapest. With disruptive, you're creating something totally new. So this can lead to significant gains, huge jumps, stronger long-term viability. Apple always comes to mind because they have continued to evolve their product line. They have continued to develop not what you need now, but what they think you need next. The bad is, it's high risk. How do you know what people are going to like? There's a great Henry Ford quote that says, if I asked my customers what they wanted, I would have built a faster horse. So you're really guessing what you think will go. It's also really uncomfortable. There's a great cartoon that says, okay, so how many people here, we're here at a conference, we're here because we want to learn something. How many people here want to see change in their life? Want to see change in their business? Want to see change and improvement? Now keep your hands up if you want to be the person that has to change. Not so comfortable. And that's the problem, because to do something that's disruptive, it gets us out of our comfort zone. Agile, if you're a waterfall environment, is a disruptive innovation. It is a completely, fundamentally, and culturally different way of delivering. Not that it's bad. It's not innovative to anybody who's got an Agile shop. It's not innovative to the creators of Agile, but it's innovative and very disruptive to your area. So I want to tell you a little story about why our team exists. And this team didn't suddenly pop up. It started very small with a lot of discussions, a lot of meetings, a lot of brainstorming, and then grew as it proved its value. So let's all imagine we're part of the same group. We all know our jobs. We know our domain. We know what works. We know who's good. We know what doesn't. We know who's bad. So I'm going to bring my expert consulting team in, and I'm going to give you a new tool, a new process, and a new way of doing things. Everyone excited? Everyone happy to abandon? See, the problem is, you know your domain. You know your customers. You know your constraints. You know what's going on. So if I try and bring you something that you haven't bought into, you're going to resist that. You should resist that because it's being brought in from the outside and you haven't accepted the fact. Can't tell you how many discussions I've had over the last 2 days where people have said, well, yeah, we keep having these awesome Agile teams, and then we hand it off to the team that's supposed to use it and they drop the ball. Why weren't they part of your Agile team? Where was your implementation as part of your Agile team? It also will kill your morale. Because what I've done, if I've brought in a team to show you how to do things better, show you how to think better, show you how to think new, have I not just said, I don't trust you to think? I don't trust you to innovate? So if your company has a geek lab of awesome innovators, aren't they in fact saying they don't trust anyone else in the organization to innovate or create something new? These are can be cultural killers. Now, if you have a commodity-based organization where nobody thinks except for a few key resources like the people in the room, maybe that model's okay for you. And after that implementation happens, because you weren't contacted, because you weren't trusted, you're much less likely to take chances in the future. And that's where you're contributing, or your company is contributing to a culture that kills ideas and kills teams. So, a lot of times we also think, and if you search companies that are in innovation, 80% or more of them are all about finding the ideas. How do we get the ideas? How do we get all of the ideas from your organization and figure out which ones to do? The ideas aren't the problem. So, by show of hands, how many people here know at least one thing that they know needs to change in a product they're related to, in a business, in the company? One thing that they would change if they could do it. Okay, is there anyone here who can't think of anything that they might want to change? Okay, good. Because that's what I would expect. The problem is, why haven't you made that change? Why haven't you done it? No answers needed. You don't want to pull that out. But the problem is, and the reason our team really found something that worked, and I believe would work in a lot of environments, is we found a way to take away those barriers. There is no end of barriers and reasons that you can't get something done. I mean, think about all the process, the funding, the perspective, the ability, all of these reasons why these great ideas can't come. This is my subtle Pink Floyd reference, because it really is. We have built, oh shoot, we've got Trump. I did not mean to do a Trump wall. We have created a wall of interference. That wall of interference gives us stability, but it also creates stupidity by blocking out any positive change, any influx. So we really need to get past these barriers. It's not the ideas that are the problem, it's getting past the barriers. So what we tried to do was to create an environment, a way, a thought of bringing those ideas, bringing those teams forward, and giving them an opportunity to make the change that actually has value, and to make that happen. So as we look at this, there's 4 key things that need to happen in order to promote a cultural change. First, you've got to give people permission. And especially in the BA community, which a lot of us at the conference are, we feel that it's our job to record other people's ideas and vet them and get the best version and translate that as well as we can. But we forget that we have permission to contribute to that idea. We have the ability to challenge those ideas. We have the ability to participate not as a catalyst for taking abstract and turning it into 182,000 page documents, but instead creating things of value. So you've got to give permission for people to take risks and to make change, which means you have to then give them the opportunity. They have to have some ability to do that. When they are taking those changes, you're creating hero stories. And you have to share those hero stories with the organization to inspire others, to encourage other people to take opportunities, to tell other people they have permission to be great. And I'll show you one of our posters from our contest. The whole theme was, it's okay to be awesome. That was the theme for our organization. It's a little sad that you're having to give people permission to be awesome. But that was part of the culture change you want to do. And out of that then comes the proof. The proof is the delivery, the value, the empowerment, the collaboration that's happening. And that's what leads to cultural change. Ideally, if your organization is clear with the type of culture you're driving towards, you can build similar programs, similar empowerment to drive to that culture. If you can also use this to quietly shift the culture where your key change agents believe it needs to be, and the organization will hopefully soon follow. So another foundation was we really believe that innovation needs to happen everywhere. So this wasn't about going into a specific area and say, digital, you're going to be our innovators now because digital moves faster. Operations, we want you to innovate because we need to drive down costs in your area. Innovation needs to happen everywhere. So you've got to find those pockets, those ideas, those teams, and give them a way of drawing forward. And really, we didn't have a grand goal. We didn't have metrics or measures that decided and gated what we got in. At the end of the day, we asked ourselves one question. Will this make our environment a better place to work? Because if it makes our place a better place to work, it will make it a better place to bank. The more your employees love what they do, the more your customers are going to love doing business with you. And that's what we were driving for. It was that simple. We were looking for those quick wins, those great wins. So in 2 years, we touched just under 10% of all of our employees. 2,000 people directly participated in programs that we sponsored. We touched far more because almost the entire organization benefited from some of the work. So there's really 5 key components here that we're talking about when you're building an environment where these changes, where innovation can happen. The first is giving people freedom to explore. Giving them permission, giving them the leeway, giving them a mechanism to do something that they aren't doing in their everyday job. The second is you've got to convince the leadership, the people making decisions, to value now over big and later. And that, especially for if you're in a regulated business, is a huge obstacle. It's all about the big investment. It's all about the low risk. It's all about properly vetting. You got to shift or find pockets where people are receptive to do now over perfect. Don't let great ruin good. And you've heard about the 80-20 rule. Our rule was, could we get 50% of the way for 5% of the cost? And in everything we did, we hit or exceeded that mark. That was kind of where we were looking. We were looking at a 5% spend to prove out the idea, or kill it. Next, you got to create a framework for trying. So a way for people, when they've got these ideas, to bring them forward, to vet them, to get the support they need. And also realize that good failures are ones that are low risk and cheap. So how can we reduce the risk of people taking chances and trying so that they'll try again, because nobody wants to get shut down. Also, create a robust environment for prototyping. This could be a small incubator, it could be a small test market, it could be a way of running your system in test mode, it could be a sample store location where you're able to test out ideas, but someplace where you can test freely. And then the last thing, and this ended up being one of the most complicated, was if you find something that you want to move forward, do you have a way of getting it into production? And what we found was we needed lots of different ways of getting things into production depending on the team and the way the idea is. You can go as anything from, we had system changes that just had to be coupled with normal deployments, all the way to generating a business case for a truly new product and business unit that would have to be funded and staffed from the top down. Extreme examples of what we participated in and ways that it would need to be implemented. So one of the keys is, you've seen a lot of great information here, complex models. When you think about implementing Agile or business rules or using any of the software, they're awesome, they're fun toys, they're great. They are complicated. We don't suffer from being undercomplicated. So our goal, our focus was, how can we make it simple so people can understand? So I want to give you two examples, and it ended up almost being themes for a year, 6 months to a year, that we were actively promoting in what we did. The first was minimum viable product. Everyone here, 5-finger voting again. How many people clearly understand what minimum viable product is? All right, awesome. It looks like everybody who raised their hand and isn't hiding because BAs are also introverts. Agreed. Anyone, can they quickly explain to me what a minimum viable product is? Can you do it in one word?
Value.
Value? Can I have something that's big and valuable?
You cannot do without it.
Okay. So here's how we did it. Because when you start getting a minimum viable product, you start wanting to get into all the nuances, and is it the first one that can go to market? Is it the first one that can be tested? Is it the first one that you can prove or disprove a concept? It varies. So what we did was we used something people could understand, a car analogy. If we were building a whole new car, you start with the wheels. You build a frame for the wheels. You build a chassis. And then at the end of it, for the very first time, you have something you can drive. You have a car, which is cool. That's our traditional way of developing a product, a process, a business. Instead, do it like this. This isn't a problem where we're trying to build a car. We're looking for transportation. So what's the skateboard? What's the 5% that I can prove whether or not we're heading in the right direction? So I want to have a skateboard. And then I want to see, when I have a skateboard, what would the scooter look like? And when I have a scooter, what would the bicycle look like? When I have my bicycle, what would the motorcycle look like? And at the end, what is my totally awesome car going to look like? So in all of our work, we actually ask people not to define the stages of their minimum viable product and how to go to implementation. We asked them, what's your skateboard? What's your scooter? What's your bike? What's your motorcycle? What's your car? We knew this had taken hold when people, instead of saying, well, our minimum viable product will be an app that will go to this market, and then instead they said, this is our skateboard. Or you're in meetings and people are like, well, we need to do this and this and this and this, and someone will say, wait, that's not the skateboard, that's the bicycle. What's the skateboard? And it worked. So just by easy drawing, we gave people a language that removed the ambiguity and remove the emotional connection. Another one, and this is an opportunity, so this applies both to business opportunities and to things you might want to tackle yourself. And there's 3 types of opportunities. We got ropes, we got tanks, and we got swinging doors. A rope is something that's really cool, and there's no support for it. There's no market for it, there's no idea. So no matter how hard you push on a rope, you can't really push it in a straight direction because it keeps molding around your hands. A tank, for us in regulated businesses, is all of those processes, governance, everything, that it doesn't matter if we all got behind it, the darn thing ain't moving very far. That takes so much effort to move a tank, or turn the ship, as we often say. And instead, we brought in the tank because the ship has been a little overused. The only opportunities we supported were swinging doors. We looked for doors that we could push to help get started, where someone was pulling on the other side. We don't want to own the door. We can't own the door. So we need to push a door that someone's having trouble opening. That's what we're looking for. And this is easy language. You come into a meeting. Think about this in your next product meeting, and you're like, hey guys, that's a tank. We can't push a tank. What's the door? Is there a skateboard that will work as a door? So I want to walk you through, we did a ton of stuff. I mean, we had an entire Kanban wall, so it would be a little crazy. But I want to highlight a few things, not to say that this is exactly how you do it, but to show what's possible and to give you ideas of what might work in your organization. And at any time, please interrupt, stop me with questions as we go forward. We should have plenty of time to discuss at the end, too. RISE was a rapid prototyping contest. Gauntlet was a business plan contest in our wholesale division. Innovation Friday was a modified one-day design thinking session. And Turkey Sandwich Club was a network of change agents and thought leaders. So when Mark and David were first getting together the idea of how could we do something different? How can we get people to change the way they think about work, to do more, to do better? So they started saying, well, who are the people who know how to get stuff done here? So they called and pulled together some of the people, and we got together for lunch, and we talk about things. We talk about how to get things done, what the challenges are, where we have resistance, where we have support. And that network grew. And then we started having quarterly meetings, talking about topics. We brought in an expert on Bitcoin. We brought in an expert on security. We brought in different groups, our HR department, and talking about employee offers. We brought these groups in and said, hey, tell us what's going on in your area, what's working and what isn't, and we'll see what happens. So that was where we had the hot topic. This network, as a first step, were the people we turned to help others go from idea to inception. These are the people who knew how to get things done. Because think about the wall. How many reasons do we have not to do anything? I can't do that, it'll never let our security department will never support it. Really? I'm going to call Stuart and Matt and set up a call this afternoon because I don't think this is going to be a problem. And if it is, they'll tell us how to get around it. And we had those people because we had built out that network. That network is sitting right under 200 people right now that we've pulled together out of an organization. Small, exclusive, invitation-only group. No membership card, no secret handshakes yet, but we're working on that. So with that network in place, the first test was RISE. So that happened in 2014. It was supported by interns. And what it was a hackathon for old people. So when you think about a hackathon, it's like, okay, we're going to get together in Facebook style, and we're going to code for 48 hours straight. And we all looked at each other and said, we're too old for that. That is not going to work. So instead, we spread it out. So the first thing together was, after plastering marketing everywhere, sending out emails, getting on our intranet, was to schedule some meetups. So we introduced the idea of what this contest would be and how it would work. And instead of putting people's name and jobs on their badge, instead we had people, they had little colored dots that said, I have an idea, I'm looking for an idea, I can help you do your idea. And you could have all three. And we asked everybody to put what their superpower is. What was their favorite thing? So instead of saying, I work for the marketing department, it was, I'm a good storyteller. I know how to build apps. I am really good at removing obstacles, whatever it was. And so we helped people meet up with their ideas and build hybrid teams. We also used some of our preferred vendors to actually, at no cost to us, and they paid for the whole program, support this entire contest. Then we had a 3-week work period. So again, help out with old people don't want to stay up all night anymore unless it's watching a World Series game. So instead, we gave them 3 weeks to develop a working prototype. And following that, we had a series of science fair style demo days. So again, pulling other models, other analogies, because we didn't want something that was so disruptive people would hate it, but it had to look different than our normal work or people would treat it the same way. So we had a science fair, and people could come down and talk to the teams, talk to the ideas, and vote. And based on that, we selected the top teams, and we had our own SunTrust Talent award show, where we pulled 4 members of our C-suite down and to listen to 7-minute demos with 7-minute questions. They had giant buckets of popcorn and drinks, and it was all taped, and we made a video of it. It was really exciting. And then they picked the 3 top winners and a winner that was tied to a purpose award. One of our corporate purposes, they said which one best reflects our current purpose for the year. So in 2014, we ended up having about 250 participants. This was in one location where we have a lot of offices, but this was in one location. And in 3 weeks, we had 43 working prototypes. We had a few things that we implemented out of that. We had changes to one of our internal tools. We had a way of process change that ended up going in. A team developed a thank you card app. We have an organization that's really bad about, I call them backstabbing compliments, where you tell everyone else how good Bob was, but you forget to tell Bob how good Bob was, or you just do the reply email, thanks, I needed that. Instead, we created a quick app where you could type in the person's name, type in a message, select the purpose that they had most fulfilled, copy their manager, and send them a really cool little email card. Nothing to open, nothing to look at, really simple, put together in 3 weeks. And a room finder, which was a kind of a light AI to be able to schedule conference rooms. The next year, we expanded it to 2 additional office locations. We ended up having over 350 participants, 50 completed projects, and over 1,000 people came down to see the demo day. People would come down to look at the projects, and then they'd go back upstairs, and then they'd bring all their office mates down. And then they'd go back, and it happened over and over again throughout the day. And so we had 4 winners there. One was a tool to be able to help structure conversations about people's spending habits. Another one was a new app that's being developed. Another was an investment and planning tool. And then another one potentially could reduce our call center volume by 80%. Wow. And it was production ready at the end of 3 weeks.
Wow.
Can you imagine that? Even if you say, okay, the people that are calling, half of them will still want to talk to a person. That's a 40% reduction in call volume in your call center. It's awesome. And that's what we found, is people were awesome. We showed our leadership teams that we have awesome people, awesome ideas in. We've just got to free them enough to do this. And this was all volunteer time. No billable time, couldn't take away from your day. This was all contribution.
So they weren't turned into, oh, sorry.
All right, 1 and then 2, yes.
What did you do about the managers? Did you lock them?
Sorry?
What did you do about the managers of those people?
No. Well, in this case, they participated, and then we went back and shared and thanked them. Everybody got a little trophy that went on their desk. And so the goal was to show those managers the great people that they had in their areas. We did have some blockages. The nastiest blockage was, I don't want you to implement that project because you're proving that you could do for $100,000 what I've got planned for next year at $2.5 million, and I'll lose my big project if you prove we don't need it. So we did have some challenges there. We had some people who saw things and said, I can't believe you solved that in 3 weeks. I've been working on that for 2 years and we couldn't get it to go. And so when we worked with them to integrate that idea, we quickly found out that they were building blocks in the wall. They weren't solving problems. They were trying to build a traditional car where they had all the bells and whistles to begin with. So we had to work with them and say, hey, wouldn't it be great to have a skateboard? And they said, we don't want a skateboard. Skateboard won't work. Okay, what if you had a scooter? The scooter at least gives you parity between two contact points. And they're like, we could do a scooter, but we still want the car. Let's get the scooter, and then you can work on the car. So yeah, we did have some challenges. There was a question
So
of
you
how...
did turn them into regular projects. I mean, you must have, like, how did you get them implemented? Because it looks like you did the first 3 in a year.
Yep. So with these, the goal was we had originally planned 10 weeks. It ended up being 3 months. That these ideas could be in production within 3 months. The goal was on small things or system-related things. Those we coupled to existing investment projects and then timed it to go with their deployment. So we worked with their development teams to say, we have a little extra scope. We will pick up all additional cost, which basically means, and I don't know if you have this, it's a brick. I can't help you because I don't have a time code to charge my time to. I have a non-investment project that you can bill your time to. I just added you to it, bill your time. They never billed any time. I think we got a total of like 120 hours an entire year ever billed to us, but it gave them the freedom, it gave them permission to help. So we coupled. On the bigger ideas, some ended up being part of the plan and roadmap, and our best one was we had a team that said, you can't do this. It's not going to work. We're creating a roadmap. We're not going to do it until we set the roadmap. I was like, oh, all right, prepare for a 3-month fight. A week later, they said, we finished our roadmap. Instead of implementing the partial solution skateboard, we're going to implement a smaller mini skateboard, like maybe 2 wheels and you can't really travel much on it now. And then in the fall, we have permission to make some other system changes, which will mean the complicated part of your skateboard goes away. So we can have a bicycle for the cost of a skateboard if you're willing to wait a couple months until we make this small change in our system. So we actually had teams that fully got it and adopted it, and it worked well. Others, it went into investment planning.
Okay.
Like one of them is a true new business or business idea. Do we build it? Do we buy it? Do we partner? So we helped build, the skateboard for that was the business case. We helped take a prototype, build a business case with those 3, and it's being evaluated it now has an executive owner, and it's being evaluated as a new effort.
Okay. Thank you, because you're crossing lines of business. I mean, you're...
Oh, absolutely.
You're,
That's the whole goal. We did an analysis. So this summer, our data analysis geeks, our summer interns, did an analysis on thank you cards, and 83% of thank you cards were sent across organizational boundaries. Completely blew us away. But that showed the reach we were getting.
Thank you.
Yep. So the next challenge, did I miss any questions? Okay. The next challenge was Gauntlet. And this, again, play on words. We had the head of our wholesale division throw down the gauntlet and challenge. And we launched a business case plan. So the first was the throwdown, where we advertise. And we're not a video-based company. So what do? We use video and use video introductions and video emails to communicate this. So we had the head of our wholesale division on video talking directly to people in a casual environment and challenging them, saying, I dare you to come up with a good idea here. Because if you come up with a good idea, we might just back it. And the whole idea of this was, if your idea wins, we will pull you out of your job for 6 months to just work on this idea. And the executive team will steal funding from someone else to pay for the skateboard for your idea and then get it into investment planning following that. Wow. So when we accepted the challenge, we had about a 6-week work period where they could come up with a business plan. We gave them very simplified templates, instructions. We held additional mixers. So again, food brings people. So we had like coffee and donuts in the morning. We had cookies and milk in the afternoon. We had working sessions to bring people together. On Gauntlet and Rise, especially with Rise, 50% of the finalists had never met before the contest. We actually helped them bring teams together. We had teams that still have not physically met, where we had offshore people working with people in one office, and they video conferenced the final presentation because there was just no way they could all be in Atlanta. Then the response, so we formed, again, using people from the Turkey Sandwich Club, some of the thought leaders, and a few other people from the wholesale division. We vetted all of these business plans and looked for about the top 25 that we wanted to consider. because then we had to take that and then break it down and come up with, we were looking for the top 4 is what we thought for. We ended up deciding to go with 6. So when we did this, here's what the gauntlet challenges were. The first one was, I want you to fix an internal teammate process or system and make our teammates twice as efficient. Don't care what it is, but make somebody twice as efficient. Second challenge, make our onboarding experience for new clients as easy as starting up your new iPhone. The third one, banking really isn't known for innovative products. I want you to come up with a 21st century product, something truly new. And the last one, if I gave you $1 million to seed this idea, how could you turn it into 10 million in 2 years? Almost all of our finalists hit that last one as well, at less than $1 million investment cost. So when we look across the programs for this year, roughly we're looking at, for a total possible spend of less than $1 million, we're looking at $65 million in ROI from these ideas. That's a nice little return on investment. And it's the empowerment that was our goal. That's just the added benefit. So out of that, we have over 200 participants from small offices, from branches across our footprint. We had 63 completed business plans. Many of the people had never completed a business plan before. We got 27 finalists, 6 Shark Tank finalists. And for this one, we had fun, and we created our own Shark Tank. We rented big leather chairs, we had plans, we had 6 video cameras going. We coached the teams on presentation and helped them through. So there's a lot of coaching, there's a lot of mentoring. How do you sell your idea?
Did you have the theme music?
We had theme music, but not the Shark theme music. We didn't want to terrorize anybody. And our whole goal was we were going to release this as a show. And when we went back to edit it, it didn't work, because in the show, there's conflict. That's never going to work. You need to take that idea out behind the barn and shoot it. They were so excited about all the ideas that there was no drama. And we're like, wow, this is kind of boring. They're just excited. So instead, we just did a highlight reel. 4 of 6 ideas were green-lighted and funded. That one surprised us. One of the funded ideas, one of the judges had been violently opposed to that business direction for over 5 years. Saw the presentation and it was like, yeah, we really ought to be doing that then. And changed the policy, changed our division. We went after a whole new line of business that was not in our risk portfolio before because of what they were able to show and what they were able to do.
So the ideas emerged from the bottom instead from the top.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, this is everything we did was grassroots. Because, think about starting back. If I take an idea from the top and give it to you, you're going to hate me. You're going to hate your manager, you're going to hate your company. But what if I can give you an opportunity to participate, to contribute, to be that person? That's what we were looking for. And that's what all of our programs, everything we did was grassroots, with education and influence at top. So when we had, we coached the heck out of the executive team. So we worked with them. Here's how the video needs to be. Here's how the event's going to go. We want you to challenge them, but we don't want you to yell at them. Those things. So we did a lot of coaching on both ends.
So when you said we,
our team, our innovation team, the turkey sandwich participants who were helping us out, and anyone else that seemed to be relevant. So we would pull in additional people. So maybe we hadn't identified someone with turkey sandwich, but they were a domain expert. We had some great ideas, and people didn't know how to do them. We helped them find the people who knew how to do them. So another idea, this is the last of the big programs we ran, was called Innovation Friday. And the whole concept of Innovation Friday was to pull together a modified design thinking session with one particular team or business unit with support from their management to solve a problem they were having. And we pulled it, so we would work, so the first thing was to pull together a room. We pulled together everybody for a Friday, cell phones and laptops turned off, and we took breaks so everyone could get, put the fires out before their laptops melted. And then we seeded that with turkey sandwich members because they knew how to get stuff done. And I'll give you an example of one of the last ones we just did. The way we seeded the discussion, the way we started it off is we asked one simple question. What is the process or thing at work that is so bad your entire family knows about it? And people shared. People shared and said, well, I really hate this because of this. And someone on the other side of the room must be like, but that's not it. You can do that. Well, no, I can't because of this rule. There's no rule. And so even then, while we were discussing, so we go through this brainstorming, kind of a modified helix opportunity, where everyone writes their ideas, they discuss it, we put them up on the wall, we start categorizing them. And about the end of mid-morning, right before our lunch break, we have come up with anywhere from 6 to 8 viable ideas or issues that people care about. We then break up into teams. We have everybody say, stand by the one you want to work on. Go grab your lunch. We have little conference rooms set up. Every team went to a conference room, and for the next 3 hours, they came up with the skateboard, the scooter, the bicycle, the motorcycle, and the car version of solving that, with one constraint. The skateboard had to be done for no cost and in 10 weeks. It had to be done in a 10-week sprint. We then brought everyone back together. We gave them a template again, a way of communicating, something that looked a little different. And then they shared their ideas. They shared their solutions. And at the end, we voted on, in some cases it was 3, in some cases it was 4, the top ideas. And we did a little sticker voting. You get 5 votes. You can divide them anywhere you want. They voted on the teams voted on the things they wanted to fix. And then at the end of that, we had anybody who wanted to sign their name to that piece of paper. And just like the Declaration of Independence, they signed away their life, their liberty, in the pursuit of solving that. And that was their team. They formed their own team lead, and then it started the Act 3, which was the 10-week sprint. And so we had 1 to 2 coaches, sometimes more, from our team working with each of those teams. In some cases, they were just casual coaches. In the case of the team that I coached, they needed somebody to coordinate because they were all over the board. So they did the work, but I ended up helping facilitate the meetings, coordinate, help them prioritize, reminded them to come back to the skateboard. So it really varied depending on what each team needed. So what were some ideas that we did for... Yes,
so
thank you.
By no cost, then, does that mean that they had all the work had to be done outside of normal business hours, or what do you mean by?
Outside of interruption to their required work. So for people who have gotten their work done, or this was directly related to their job, absolutely they could do it in work hours. We couldn't buy anything new, we couldn't hire contractors, we couldn't bring in a vendor, so no cost that would show up on a GL sheet.
But for the most part, were they able to do it within their
Oh
normal?
yeah, absolutely. In some teams, so the team I coached, it was with our HR department. We were right in the middle of annual reviews and annual incentives. That team had no bandwidth whatsoever. So the time, except for a few key members, everybody committed to 1 hour a week for 10 weeks. That was all the participation they had. We had a few people that put in about 5 hours a week, but we accomplished policy changes and a whole new understanding in 12 people. Let's see, that's 12 hours of work per 10 hours of work per. My math is bad. My brain is small. Anyway, it's really small, low interference on that. Others, we actually had members of our team who did development actually help them build out a new help system. Yep. So one was leapfrogging digital. What are the technologies? What are the things that we should be using or considering that we aren't? Like, should we have a Bitcoin division? I don't know. Getting more, we actually brought in our leadership to show where our money, our IT spend, kind of like when you see, here's where our federal budget goes, and then you start having arguments with your friends over how big the pie really is and where the money should be spent. We did that with our technology spend and argued where money should or should not go, and then helped come up with some changes. Design to sell. Basically, we brought in our financial advisors and they explained their job, their challenges, and then we helped them solve some of their problems. AIR was accelerate, innovate, and renovate. It was a program to try and change. It was basically what happens when you do top-down innovation and you say, I want everyone to be better. Go. So we came up with ways that you actually could do things. Partnering across enterprise, how do we break down organizational? We did one with millennials where nobody over 25 was allowed in the room except for the facilitators. And then communications was another one. So I think we've done about 8 or 9 of these so far. So what came out of these? So here's just a few samples of what came out of an Innovation Friday. Communities. These were online discussion groups, almost like discussion forums, of anything that people wanted to talk about. We're just under 300 active communities right now, and about, I think, half the bank is actively participating in at least one discussion or has joined at least one team. We built an internal search engine using existing technology that's archived over 2 million artifacts securely. Answers Wiki is a forum where people can contribute ideas and instructions. So onboarding, we started by taking the onboarding guide and putting it into a wiki, and now people keep updating it, like every time our parking deck changes, or the pricing changes, or the company, things like that. That wiki format has now been used for 5 other wikis throughout the organization, because we had it built, they rebranded it, changed out the categories, and we're good to go. And then we actually, one of the teams, in 2 weeks, created a light version of online banking so that when we're doing system maintenance, you can still get all of your basic information. You can do anything except for moving your money. And so now, we weren't down during maintenance periods, unless you really wanted to do something transactional. 2 weeks. Idea out of here. Out of one of the turkey sandwich clubs, was about incentives, and an idea came up in the group, or a frustration. The 2 people who owned that problem were in the room, and they had it fixed by the next day. So it's things like that. It's just amazing what you can do when you free people up a little bit. A couple other impactful projects I want to talk about. Adventures in Data Science. We took some of the top math interns and turned them loose on available data sets to see what problem. We had 2 interns in 3 weeks over the summer create a financial model that could predict how likely a client was to close their account after a complaint. They predicted that within 83% accuracy. The previous model was sitting around 20%. And so now that's gone and is being evaluated for production. Reply All, we did a mass survey that said where we were trying to get the voice of the teammates, but in an open forum. We then took all of that feedback and developed it into themes and conversations, shared it nearly unfiltered with our executive team, and then we set up a series of facilitated listening sessions where they went out to all of our locations and talked about what people were saying. One Team Moments, this was something we borrowed from Umpqua Bank. So if you know them from the, I think they're Pacific Northwest, probably the best bank in the world to work for or to be a customer of. They basically have a team building exercise. So for 15 minutes, once a week, once a month, whatever you want to do, you get everybody in your physical location together and you do something fun. You play a game, you do an introduction, you do something social, but it's just a team building where you get to meet people in your physical location, or you can go to another team's One Team Moments and meet them there. We did everything from blind ninja sword fighting with foam pool noodles to paper airplane building contests, all sorts of crazy things. So I want to kind of wrap up a little bit and then use the rest of the time to kind of talk through this. So innovation can be used to help with cultural changes. But to do that, you've got to create programs and products that remove those organizational barriers. Think of the bricks, think of the walls. You've got to find ways around or through or to remove the wall to make that possible. To do that, you've got to find the change agents, the people who know how to get bricks out of the way. And they're the ones who know how to get stuff done. Bring them together and give them the freedom, give them the empowerment to do that. And it's really only asking them. We have no authority. We have no executive director. We have no permission to do any of this stuff. Find teams with the desire and the ideas that they want to implement. We have one of the people I work with, phenomenal ideas. No desire to implement any of them. So he's like, hey, somebody do this, somebody do this, somebody do this. I was like, go find somebody to do this, to do that, to do that. And if you find somebody, we'll help them, but we're not going to find somebody for you. You've got to find the teams who are ready. They know what to do. You know this. You know what you want to do if you were given the chance. And then use those your change agents and the teams as a catalyst to focus the idea, refine the idea, and then get it to the skateboard. Get it to the skateboard at 5% of the cost. Show that you've delivered 50% of the value, and find ways to then say, how do I get it to the car eventually? You may find out you never need the car. You may just be happy and bicycle in a nice little, carbon neutral community. So let me, when you download the presentation, there's some bonus slides for you. First of which, some additional information about the impact of some of the products that were developed. Some of these were developed by request, some of these came out of our programs. Like I said before, the key for us was doing something that looked and felt just different enough that it broke you out of that pattern of this needs to be the same thing, and instead, but not so crazy that it drew opposition. So in this case, our core team, so if you thought about everything we delivered, did anyone imagine that we had like 10 or 20 people on this team? Maybe more? We had 8 people on the team. And we worked with anywhere from 3 to 8 interns at a time, and then sponsored the internship group projects during the summer. So we found ways. So we always say, don't leave too much of yourself in the car. Bring your superpower into the office. Everybody's got a superpower. Every one of you does something that nobody else can do quite as well as you are. Why aren't you doing that as much as you can, as often as you can, wherever you can? So we help people discover their superpowers. We help them draw them out and try to give them a way of using their superpowers for the purposes of good. Some examples of our advertising, again, going for a completely different look and feel than the organization was, with color, with unauthorized fonts and video. Some examples of how fast things could go from zero to production. We did surveys after Innovation Friday. Typically our teammate response is usually sitting at about the 50% approval rating. We had, except for one that wasn't quite so, overwhelming feedback of, I had fun, I would do this again, and I actually think this is going to go somewhere. The orange line is it's going to go somewhere. So you do see some of that organizational resistance still. Another reference slide which talks about the different groups and how they interact in terms of getting things done. And then, as I mentioned, stay connected. So what I'd like to do is ask each one of you. So as part of the conference, there were a lot of people that put a lot of effort in to getting you the best presentations, the best topics. So rating and evaluating all of the sessions, honestly, is extremely important. So I want to make sure that there's nobody here that feels that they did not come away with at least one inspirational idea, something really powerful that they would like to do or like to do different, that they wouldn't rate this session a 5. So I'd like a few people to share, what is something Monday morning, after you've fully recovered from this week, you think you might adopt or want to adopt or do differently? Yes?
I actually just sent you an email.
Awesome! That's what I'm about to talk about.
I really liked those different ideas, and one in particular that I really responded to was the Decline All program.
Yep.
And working on customer experience management program. And part of that is listening equally. I'm not a PA, I work directly with the customers, and so we're really trying to get that kind of information. So I got a lot out of the session with that in particular. Really resonated.
Excellent. And we have a formal Voice of Teammates survey that is one of the provided by a third party, industry standards. Do you have a best friend at work? You know, another one. We wanted to do something completely different, so ours was open for it. The question we decided to go with, after a lot of debate, a lot of rework, was, and we kept it simple, what's one thing you would change? In this division, what is one thing that you would change? Oh, we were not prepared for the answers. But it was really good, and it told our executive team how important it was. We ended up through the discussions and listening sessions, finding 7 key ideas, and an executive sponsor is now in charge of delivering a solution to each one of those. Yep.
I love the inclusive hackathon idea.
Inclusive hackathon. Yep. So a little bit on that.
Discriminating against us older, like people, but I love that idea and making it so that giving people a framework and the freedom to get in and innovate is not scary.
Absolutely, and a lot of that was partnering. Like I said, 50% of the teams had not met before this happened. We had some of our key vendors, and not only did they donate some food, some prizes, some basic stuff like that to run the event, They actually donated resource time. They were not allowed to build us, but their team was so excited to participate. We had offshore coders that we could back with business people, and they had never worked with offshore. And they were doing iterative design. They were doing Agile without even realizing it, and built these awesome working prototypes. They had no idea what was possible. So that was how we got that done so cheaply. Our cost to run Rise was under $2,000. Yes?
So, I think what people have them to feel safe. So how do you make them feel safe?
How do you make people feel safe? How do you give them the freedom?
A safe environment for them then to...
Wow, we could spend 4 more hours on that. So a few keys. We've structured these things in a way to create a zone of safety that says, forget your job, here's my little circle, step outside it for this purpose, and you're allowed to do more.
And to say,
Yeah, so that's where in an Innovation Friday, tell me the thing that your family knows about that's so bad. We freed that up from the very beginning. We basically said, talk about the most horrible thing you know. And everyone started talking, and it was fast, and it was immediate, and it freed up a lot of people. Rise, it's okay to be awesome. We're immediately telling them, you don't have to go slow. You don't have to stay. Using interns, because they don't know you're supposed to be bad and go slow. They haven't learned that lesson yet.
Yes, that's right.
All right, over here, you, and then
I just wanted to say it's fabulous, the analogy of the scooter and pieces, because I've been saying for years to people, I guess I've gone with the stream. We don't need to build the Taj Mahal, right? I mean, start small, take the learnings, but I like the concept because it's easy to understand and you understand those phases. Are you at the scooter level, you at the skateboard, or are you looking to build the car?
Fantastic, and I'll separate out, I'll put those slides out in PowerPoint form so that you can reuse them and rebrand them, because I've got a PDF version and I was just like, wait a minute, now you're going to have to redraw, and I'm not an artist. So I will put that out this weekend. And
so my organization is doing the top-down innovation.
Yes.
Please go.
How's that working for you?
They're surprised. Yeah, they formed a committee. They're very surprised that ideas aren't forthcoming. So how do I turn this on the dime there? How do I change the conversation?
So to change the conversation, why do they want ideas? What good are ideas? People have the ideas. They know what it is. They don't want their idea to be shot down.
Right.
They don't feel that it's okay to take a risk. It's not the safe zone that we heard here. So where it's within one team and you structure design thinking, you can bring a vendor in to facilitate too, so it's independent. But whoever could do that, bring them into a safe zone. Is it running a contest? A business case contest and a hackathon, we had no idea either would work. We did Rise the second time because the first one worked so well. The business case blew us away. We really didn't realize how many people could actually generate an entire line of business in a business case or a new offering or fix an organizational problem. One of the ideas was $5 million in direct cost savings in their particular area that they had identified, and they teamed with somebody to figure out how to get it done. So you got to create that safe space. But it's hard. Find creative people, find the change agents, and start working with them to say, what do you think would work? And then start with your skateboard. Start and pilot with a small group, with a small area. We did Rise with one office and interns just to see if it would work, because nobody cared. There was no cost. So they saw some posters, and as long as we took them down at the end and didn't put them up in the keyboard, they didn't care. All right, so we've run out of time, and I know everyone wants to jump to their last session because your brain's got just a smidgen more. If you asked a question or shared your comments, please come up. I have some little cell phone stands for you. They get first dibs as long as they last. Thank you all for coming. Please take time. I hope you